Hello, this is David Swafford, and this is my presentation for Flight Scenario 2 Football Crazy. So, to get started with a brief overview, we'll cover our scenario, a demonstration of single pilot resource management, multi-engine airplane systems, emergency procedures and landing, and we'll finally go over some aeronautical decision making. So to start with our scenario, uh, the scenario is we're taking ourselves and two friends on a trip from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Dallas, Texas to watch the Vikings play the Cowboys in a football game. And one of our friends is being really apprehensive, and the other is curious. They're asking us a lot of questions, and the other friend's not so sure about flying with us in our multi-engine airplane. So, demonstration of single pilot resource management. I'd probably go ahead and use both of my friends for some resources. I'd go ahead and let the friend that's curious, probably sit up front with me, let him hold on to my checklist, and that way, as he asks questions, what things are, I could also go through my checklist and help him look at things and possibly get him interested into flying the airplane, into aviation. Automation, hopefully our airplane has autopilot because this is going to be a very long trip. And it would also kind of help us to relax our friend in the back seat that's apprehensive, that might be afraid of something going wrong. We show them, hey, the airplane is kind of flying itself. It's pretty safe. As far as task management, again, we'll have our friend to help us out. He can read off our checklist while we go ahead and perform the procedure, and that's going to help us out throughout the flight. And as always, we will make sure that we do not fly into any terrain. So, some multi-engine airplane systems. This will be really great to review with both friends. For one, it's going to really help the friend that's apprehensive kind of relax a little bit and understand more about the airplane. And the person that's curious, it's going to let them really learn and hopefully answer their questions for them. So we can first talk about the landing gear, how uh, it is hydraulically driven, and that there's also a system for it that we control in the airplane. And in our particular airplane, we've actually got a redundant safety feature to where if we're on the ground, the airplane won't let us pull up the landing gear. Um, and then the propellers, they're a little bit different than our regular single engine airplane in that they can fully feather, and basically that means that they can go into the wind. That way, it's going to reduce drag and make the airplane more controllable in the event of a engine failure. And our fuel system has a redundancy in it, in that we can cross feed the fuel system if we need to use it. And that's just going to basically use fuel from both of the nacelles to help us maintain balance and to use our fuel properly. We've also got a separate combustion heater, so basically that uses some of our fuel, but hopefully we won't need it. Hopefully it won't be too cold. But we do have a separate heater system. That way, if it gets a little chilly, we can turn on our heater and be a little bit cooler in the warmer in the airplane. And then just go over the control surfaces with them, show them, these are what the ailerons are and how they work, and the elevators and the flaps. And that should kind of help both of them maintain a sense of security and that the airplane is safe, and hopefully answer some of their questions along the way. Next, we'll talk about some of our emergency procedures, and we can do this before we even take off, which would be really great for the person that's a little bit apprehensive. It'll help settle their mind about some things that might happen. First, we would want to talk about an emergency meeting location. For me, I would like to choose a spot, at least 100 feet away from the nose of the aircraft. That way, we all know where to meet up in case something happens, and we can find each other. And it's a safe distance away that should there's be something going on with the aircraft, we'll be safely away from it. The next, we'll talk about our fire safety briefing. In the event of a fire, if we're in the ground, we'll just go ahead and lean the mixture out. And if it's during start off, we'll continue to crank the engine, with the throttle fully forward to try to get that engine to go in through to get the fire to go in through the engine and hopefully suppress it. And if not, if we're in flight, similar process, we'll still lean the mixture. Throttle will come to full idle. We don't want any fuel. We'll turn off our fuel, and we'll make sure that there's no fuel kind of hanging around that engine. And we'll open up our cowl flaps as well to kind of help cool off that engine and hopefully take out that fire. And we'll also follow our emergency checklist, which is found in our POH. And a great thing about having our friend up front that's curious is he can help us work through the checklist and cover any emergency things that we feel would be pertinent. And for landing, of course, we would want to talk about, hey, if the gear fails, there is another safety redundancy where we can manually extend the gear, and we would keep them extended. And we would want to make sure that everybody, of course, keeps their seatbelts fastened. And another thing would be to unlock the doors just in case, because if we make a hard touchdown, we want to make sure that the doors can still open, and unlocking them prior to touchdown is only going to help us and not hurt us. And so just going over some of the emergency procedures, I think, would make our other friend also feel safe, and we could reduce, hopefully, some of his apprehension. And then finally, some aeronautical decision making. Aeronautical decision making, what it is, it's making decisions as a pilot at the right time in the right way. And we've got a couple checklists to follow: PAVE, DECIDE, and the 5 Ps. So we want to make sure that us as the pilot, the airplane, the environment, and any external pressures are addressed prior to making the flight. And then we're also assessing definitely the 5 Ps in this scenario: the pilot, the plane, the programming, the passengers, and the plan. And we want to constantly evaluate that throughout the flight, just to address anything that might come up. This is going to be a pretty long flight, so we want to make sure to constantly evaluate everything and to keep our situational awareness up. And that's also going to help out our friends with answering their questions, and hopefully reducing some of that anxiety that our other friends feeling. Another reason to put them in the back is that way they can maybe lay down, take a nap. It'll help them pass the time, and they won't have to worry so much about the airplane. So in conclusion, we talked about the scenario, a demonstration of single pilot resource management. We talked about our multi-engine airplane systems. We talked about some emergency procedures and our landing phase, and we discussed some aeronautical decision making. So again, thank you to Piper Aircraft for the POH, and to the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge for discussing some of our SRM principles. And again, thanks to the FAA for the SRM handout, and that Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge also gives us some tools about aeronautical decision making. So thank you for watching my video.